We'll give the floor now to Senator Bong Revilla, the gentleman from Cavite. Sir, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the DOLE family. At the onset, may I say that I am in full support of the budget of DOLE, but allow me, Mr. Chair, to propound some questions and clarify some matters with DOLE. The Department of Labor and Employment is rolling out programs to called Tabang or Tabang OFW, which entitles one college level dependent of a repatriated displaced or deceased OFW to receive one-time financial assistance of 30,000. We understand that DOLE and the Commission on Higher Education is yet to issue guidelines for the program, but we want to know some information about it. Ito po ba ay one-time grant? Ibig sabihin po, isang beses lang po makakatanggap ang mga estudyante sa buong panahon na siya ay nasa kolehiyo. Tama po ba ito? Anybody may answer?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Secretary.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. I'm glad to see you again, Your Honor.
Yes.
To address your concern, Your Honor, actually, that's a one-time grant of 30,000 for every one OFW child on the college level. Pero for more specifics, Your Honor, I refer you to ASEC Nikki, who is in charge of that program.
Okay. How are we able to come up with the amount of 30,000 per student?
We'll ask
Meron pong binigay na,
Go ahead.
meron pong binigay na 1 billion ang Your Honor. We entered into a memorandum of agreement with the Commission on Higher Education, and under that MOA, Your Honor, bibigyan kami ng one. Actually, I actually initially refused to receive. I said I will just issue the guidelines for the scholarship program, but they insisted. Now they issue the guidelines, and we will be the one to extend the financial assistance of 30,000 per beneficiary, one time cash assistance, Your Honor.
Yes, meron po ba tayong datos kung ilang college students ang dependents ng OFWs natin?
Your Honor, for the details of that MOA, may I refer you to our Assistant Secretary Nikki Tutay, who was responsible with the other officers of TED in formulating yung memorandum agreement which I signed together with Secretary Popoy de Vera, Your Honor.
Assistant Secretary, you may answer, please. You want me to repeat the question? Meron po ba tayong datos kung ilang college students ang dependents ng OFWs?
Okay. Thank you, Chair and Senator Bong. With the permission of the Secretary po, yung pong scholarship po na yung pong mga beneficiaries for this 1 billion scholarship ay manggagaling po doon sa mga na-repatriate. As mentioned earlier, meron po tayong around 229,000 repatriated workers. So base po sa datos na po yan, doon po manggagaling yung about 30,000 na matutulungan po natin for the 1 billion scholarship. Based on the initial data that we have coming from OWWA, who have been repatriated, about 40% po yung meron pong college dependent na estudyante po. But having said that, we will still complete all the profiles of the returning OFWs, yung pong 239 na yan, and i-check po natin every region kung ilan po yung college dependent, because kung meron po sa isang pamilya halimbawa na 2 o 3 college dependent, ang OFW po na bumalik po dito ay mag-a-assign lamang po ng isang dependent na po pwede po sa scholarship program. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, kung ibabawas po natin dito yung humigit kumulang na 30,000 na mag-aaral na maaring tulungan na sa ilalim nitong tabang OFW program, ilan po nangangailangan ng tulong sa scholarship man o financial assistance?
Sa ngayon, Your Honor, wala po akong tamang datos na maibibigay sa inyo unless po that we have already completed the profiles. And as mentioned, palaki po ng palaki yun pong mga number ng repats po natin. So maaari pong madagdagan pa itong mga dapat pong matulungan at dapat maabot po ng scholarship program, Your Honor.
Yes, can you give us kumbaga, itong mga datos na ito? Pagkano, pasubmit na lang po sa amin.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we continue, Senator Bong, may I just acknowledge the virtual presence of our minority floor leader, Senator Frank Drilon. Sir, good afternoon.
Good
Please
afternoon, Mr. Chair, and thank you for acknowledging me. I would like to hear the budget of my former agency where I started my government career.
Thank you, Senator Drilon. You may proceed, Senator Bong Revilla. Thank you.
Okay. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWWA, also launched its latest educational assistance to qualified college level dependents of its members affected by COVID-19. It is called Project EASE, or the Educational Assistance Through Scholarship in Emergencies, and 400 million is allocated to provide 10,000 per annum for a maximum of 4 years. Ang 400 million po ba ay para sa unang taon lamang na implementasyon ng programa, or is it for the entire implementation of the program already?
Your Honor, I think that the budgetary allocation is an ongoing. Ibig sabihin, pag naubos yan, dadagdagan po yan. But for particulars, Your Honor, may I request Administrator Kakdak to address your concern, Your Honor.
Okay.
Admin Kakdak, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator Revilla. Thank you, Sec. Yes po, that's right po. The 400 million is an initial allocation, and for next year, there will also be an allocation. There was an OWWA board meeting the other day to approve the budget out of the trust fund. So meron din pong continuing allocation yon, Sen, and
Yes.
patuloy lang po itong ating Project EASE.
So hanggang kailan
active OWWA members.
patutupad ang programang ito?
Tuloy-tuloy lang po tayo, Sen, until meron nangangailangan. Ito'y nasa konteksto ng COVID crisis. So, until meron po tayong crisis na kahalintulad ng nadadanas po natin ngayon.
At gaano po karaming scholars ang maaari natin ma-accommodate sa programang ito?
Well, dito po sa Project EASE, with around 400 million, we stand to provide a benefit to around 40 to 50,000, Sen.
Okay. What systems are in place to ensure that we are able to reach out to more students to avoid duplicity of recipients on the different scholarship programs of DOLE and its attached agencies such as OWWA?
Opo, meron tayong database, Sen, to ensure kung ano yung mga sino na yung nakatanggap sa other scholarship programs with respect to tabang OFW, for instance, the DOLE being aligned to the program, ay meron naman tayong database na kung saan naka-align din ang OWWA systems natin to ensure wala pong double claims, Sen.
Yeah, para ma-avoid yun, parang duplication. Okay, as of September 24, more than 200,000 OFWs who have returned to the country have been transported back to their home provinces. Kamusta na po ang operasyon ng ating mga OFW help desk, Sir Secretary?
Your Honor, yung pong nabanggit yung 229,000 OFWs, kagaya po ng nabanggit ninyo, hindi lang po sila nakarating sa Manila. Nakarating na po sila sa kanilang final destination. meaning sa mga minamahal nila sa buhay, sa pamilya na po sila. Pagdating po doon, as I mentioned earlier, merong programa ang OWWA, which is called the National Reintegration Program. And under this program, yung mga repatriated OFWs will be entitled to initial financial assistance of 10,000, and they can also apply for livelihood assistance, Your Honor.
Yes, may coordination din po ba kayo? O mga help desk sa TESDA na siyang nagbibigay ng mga training program sa ating mga bumalik na OFW?
Meron po, Your Honor. We coordinate closely with the TESDA, especially in terms of the training of our prospective OFWs, Your Honor. Lalo na pagdating sa yung tinatawag na NC2, Your Honor. Kasi pag nakakatanggap ka ng NC2, you can qualify to go abroad as a caregiver. And you know, in Israel, Your Honor, they have very high paying position there. A minimum of what, $2,000 yung ating mga caregivers doon. And that is our working relation with the TESDA, Your Honor.
So saang ahensya po sila nakikipag-ugnayan? Sa Cooperative Development Authority po ba? Would you know how many of the OFWs or their families availed their assistance?
Kung minsan, Your Honors, when we have maybe more than one OFW who wants to apply for a bigger livelihood assistance, sometimes they associate themselves and form cooperatives, and they deal with the CDA, Your Honor. Pero otherwise, yung mga OFWs natin can apply for individual livelihood project. In fact, one of the major livelihood projects that Administrator Kapdak have been studying is the livelihood project, which is called the bamboo industry, Your Honor. Kasi napakalaki ang prospect nitong industry nito, yung hybrid bamboo. And we are expecting some provincial governments to offer big tracts of land where our OFWs can plant and cultivate itong hybrid bamboos, which has a big market, especially in China. So ito po yung mga programa na nakalaan po sa ating mga OFWs who have been repatriated.
Ganda po yan. Okay, another question. Noong pong September 4 ay 6,990. Ito yung 6,990 na sa mga umuwing OFWs ang nagpositibo sa COVID-19. Ano po ang update sa lagay nila po, Mr. Secretary? And what support, assistance did we provide the OFWs who tested positive with COVID-19?
Your Honor, yung mga lahat ng mga OFWs who have been contaminated with COVID-19, automatically they're entitled to cash assistance of $200 or its peso equivalent of 10,000 pesos. Lahat po ng mga COVID victims na OFWs po ay na-treat na po sila. We brought them to hospitals in the places where they are deployed, and we provide them not only medical assistance, we also provide them with the food and other tinatawag na necessities, Your Honor. Basta tinutulungan. That's part of the responsibility of OWWA in extending assistance to our OFWs, especially those who are contaminated with COVID-19, Your Honor.
So wala naman tayong nakuhang report kung sila ba'y nakasurvive lahat or mayroong namatay? Or...
Meron pong namatay, Your Honors. In fact, we have already repatriated about 295 OFWs out of which about 80% died because of COVID-19, Your Honors. Naiuwi naman natin sila lahat, Your Honor, 295 of them. In fact, yesterday, or it was the other day, a batch of 35 OFW, dead OFWs arrived again. And of the 35, 25 are COVID death, Your Honor.
Okay. The President approved an additional 5 billion fund to be used for evacuation and aid packages for OFWs affected by the pandemic. For 2020, a total of 6,749 was released to OWWA, which include the aforementioned 5 billion. But only 13.25% of their 893,910 was obligated by OWWA as of June 30, 2020. Bakit po mababa ang obligation rate ng pondo, Mr. Secretary? And what are the priority projects, activities of OWWA? And I suppose there are COVID-related initiatives.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I turn over the mic to Administrator Kapdak, may I inform you, Honorable Senator, that out of the 5 billion repatriation fund that was given voluntarily by His Excellency the President, ewan ko, talaga yatang mahal na yung mga OFW. Nung humingi kami ng additional funds for our ACA program, sinabi niya, oh, pwede kayong kumuha doon sa 5 billion na binigay ko sa OWWA, sabi niya, Your Honor. So, doon, nagkaroon kami ng arrangement with OWWA na anong tawag doon, bigyan naman kami ng konti doon sa 5 billion and medyo mabait naman si Administrator Kakdak and he offered to share 1 billion of the 5 billion para sa mga financial assistance natin sa mga OFWs. So, may I request, Your Honor, that Administrator Kakdak can expound on that issue, Your Honor.
Yes, Admin Kakdak, please respond.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senbon. Thank you, Sec. Ito pong 5 billion and once again, as mentioned by the Secretary, we're very thankful to the President and the leaders of Congress dahil lang pinakunan po yung Bayanihan 1 saka yung GAA for 2020. We received the SAROS late June, I think it was June 24 to June 25. And yung pong instruction DBM is such that yung 5 billion will be allocated as follows: 2 billion for the third quarter and 3 billion for the fourth quarter. So that explains, Sen, kung bakit nung mga bandang Hunyo or Hulyo, 13% pa lang ang utilization kasi kakatanggap lang ho natin yung initial tranche ng 2 billion around that time. And the coincidence is yung 3 billion tranche will be received by us today. Kasi October 1 po is the first day of the fourth quarter. So yung 2 billion naman na nauna, Sen, rest assured, I have received info from our finance na 100% po ang utilization as of September 30. Nung 2 billion, 60% of the expenses were allocated to accommodation of OFWs and the remaining balance of 40% for transport and food. And doon na rin ho natin kinuha yung doon po sa cremation and funeral services doon sa nabanggit ni Sec kanina na mga nauwing labi na mga OFWs. Sinasagot na rin ho natin yung cremation and funeral services. So the short answer, Sen, is 100% tayo doon sa 2 billion initial tranche. And today we received the remaining 3 billion tranche.
Yeah, we do recognize kumbaga yung malasakit ng ating mahal na Pangulo sa ating mga OFWs, no? Talaga yung action niya mabilis. So, yun, napakalaking bagay niyan. Talaga ito yung tinuturing natin sila yung mga makabagong bayani natin. No? So, dapat talaga natin tugunan pangangailangan nila. So now, what are the priority projects and activities of OWWA? I suppose there are COVID-19 related initiatives. magkano po ba ang kabuong halaga ang kailangan para maiuwi po lahat ng OFW na naghihintay as of today?
Sen, if I may answer, Chair, Sen,
Please,
Sen,
please.
Go ahead, go ahead.
let me just have a brief narrative. Proudly, I should say, we already received a directive from the Secretary at the beginning of the year, nung lumalabas pa lang yung balita ng spread ng COVID sa China and sa Asia. At doon pa lamang ay meron ng direktiba na tulungan yung mga naapektuhang hindi makaalis dito. Yung mga China, Macau, and Hong Kong OFWs noong mga late January and early February. And that sprung us into action in terms of yung tulong natin. That was a 10,000 peso benefit at the time, and we spent around 100 million for the China, Hong Kong, and Macau OFWs who could not leave at the time. Then, pumasok yung cruise ship workers at yung tulong, yung unang tinulungan, yung Diamond Princess, yung kauna-unahang kaso. At from there po, ay tumulong na tayo sa both land-based and sea-based workers in terms of yung transport, food, and accommodation nila. Among others, for instance, yung mga na-stranded na marino dito ay pinakain ho natin ng mga 4 na buwan dahil hindi sila nakaalis, mga 7,000 po yan sila in partnership with the Marino Party List. Pasalamat natin sa grupo ni Kong Sandro Gonzales. At ito po ay naging proyekto natin na siguraduhin hindi mag-ikahos po o magugutom yung mga hindi nakaalis na marino at that time dito sa Pilipinas sa mga boarding houses, dormitorio, etc. And then yung transport facility po natin, kung saan siniguro ni SEC, sabi ni SEC wala pong masa-stranded na noong mga Marso at Abril ito, na walang masa-stranded na OFW yung dumadating sa airport. Kaya we set into motion yung transport, food, and accommodation assistance natin as early as March. And nung pumasok na yung mandatory quarantine for OFWs in partnership with the other IATF agencies, DOTR, DOH, DILG, DFA, dyan na po pumasok yung pinalawig, yung food transport accommodation, which then included yung mandatory swabbing at PCR testing ng arriving OFW. So from there, Sen, ay pinakita din natin na yung, speaking of reintegration, ay yung pagdating pa lang ng OFWs ay meron ng effort to take care of them pagdating nila, not just in accommodation, food, transport terms, nadagdagan na rin ng medical attention, physical and mental health issues ng returning OFWs through our roving medical teams in partnership with the DOH. From there, nagkaroon na nung financial assistance na DOLE AKAP, yung 10,000 pesos program na pinasinayaan ni Sec Bello from the Bayanihan 1. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin ngayon as mentioned by the Sec sa Bayanihan 2. At pumasok na rin, Sen, at ito yung tanong ko, sagot ko doon sa pangalawang tanong, pumasok na rin ang pinalalawig natin ngayon na livelihood at scholarship programs na nabanggit din ni Sec Bello. Napakalaki po ng emphasis natin ngayon sa livelihood and scholarship, both individual and group livelihood programs. Umaandar na yung individual livelihood, yung group livelihood inaprubahan ng OWWA board a month ago at will be rolled out in the 3rd week of October. Kahapon po, nung Tuesday, nagkaroon na ng webinar yung mga OFWs kung saan meron ng briefing sa kanila kung paano mag-organisa along the lines of a workers association through the DOLE or cooperative under the CDA or corporation under the SEC. So livelihood, individual, and group. And then finally, yung scholarship. Yung scholarship natin na pinalalawig natin through existing scholarship programs, yung para sa mga OFW na anak na matataas ang grado sa kolehiyo, para sa mga anak ng kasambahay na nasa kolehiyo, at yung nabanggit nga po ninyo, Sen, yung para sa mga returning OFWs. I will also care to add yung scholarship natin para sa mga nasawi na mga OFWs. So yung mga nasasawi pong OFWs ay ginagawa natin tinatawag na lifetime scholar ang kanilang mga anak. Ibig sabihin, from elementary to college, ginagawa po nating scholar o binibigyan ng financial aid ang anak na nasawing OFWs.
This is lifetime scholars, ka?
Ayun pa, yun lang ho ang terminolohiya namin, Sen, to say Sa mga nasawing OFWs, ang anak nila, isang anak nila, sinasagot po natin ng pag-aaral from elementary to college. Kaya lifetime, quote-unquote, ang tawag namin doon, Sen.
So ano po ba ang estado ng ating mga OFW sa ngayon na may mga bansa na nagbukas muli, no, ng kanilang ekonomiya? So kamusta po sila? Susuportahan pa ulit ng gobyerno para makabalik sila ulit sa mga bansa pinanggalingan nila?
Yes, and ang assessment po namin ay gradually nagbubukas na po ang mga bansa, Sen, lalo na sa Middle East. Yan po talaga ang binabantayan natin, kasi sila ang mas tinamaan ng COVID kaysa sa other destinations ng ating OFWs. Bukod sa mas marami talaga ang OFW sa Middle East, nakikita na natin ang gradual na pagbubukas. Siyempre, meron mga protocols o mga requirements na siya naman ginagawa na rin ng paraan. Si Sec Bello ay nagbibigay na rin ng direktiba both sa POA at sa OWWA para tulungan din yung mga OFWs natin na gustong manumbalik na sa kanilang mga trabaho. Gradually, Sen, hindi pa naman buong buo pa ang nanunumbalik. Pero gradually bumabalik at tinutulungan ho natin yung gustong bumalik.
Yes, because of the pandemic, no, alam natin na biglang pag-uwian. So in short, medyo marami dyan sa kanila, medyo kakapusin talaga sa panggastos pabalik ng mga bansang kanilang pinanggalingan. So anong suporta may bibigay ng ating gobyerno sa kanila? Meron ba kayong programa sa kanila? Sa aspeto na yun?
Your Honor, as I mentioned earlier, the President gave OWWA 5 billion as repatriation expense for the OFWs, Your Honor. And this repatriation expense covers their air and land transportation, their hotel accommodation while waiting for the result of their swabbing test, medicine, including the PCR testing cost, Your Honor. And in addition, Your Honor, they are also entitled to the benefits of the reintegration program, which I mentioned earlier, where they can get an essential cash assistance, I think, of 10 to 20,000, then a livelihood assistance of a minimum of 30 to a maximum of 1 million. Pero yung pag may million na, meron na ano yan, may tinatawag na mga requirements, Your Honor, unlike doon sa yung mga 30,000 na livelihood lang, on-site inspection lang ang kailangan. So in addition, Your Honor, sabi na ni Administrator Kagdak, meron ding scholarship program for these children. Meron silang entitlement of a 4-year course, Your Honor, sa mga anak ng mga OFWs.
Yes, marami pa po sana ako itatanong at marami po mga senador na mga kasama ko po na magtatanong sa inyo. So again, I give my full support to the budget of DOLE and its attached agencies now more than ever, considering the host of the of economic problems brought about by the pandemic. We need to give the budget needed by DOLE to help promote and protect the Filipino workers' welfare. To DOLE family, Secretary, suporta po kami sa inyo at thank you para po sa suporta nyo sa mga OFW natin. Mabuhay po kayo.